Part 17. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 161. After riding the three-headed red bird back to the hidden valley, Zhang Lingch landed lightly on the ground. The ferocious beast that was sleeping in front of the palace door noticed that its master was back, and immediately woke up and rushed over to Zhang Lingch, wagging his head and tail, sniffing here and licking there, just like a big dog. The little ferocious beast that was originally lying next to it lost its support due to the sudden departure of its mother. It rolled around on the ground and happened to roll to Zhang Lingch's feet. But he still didn't wake up and continued to sleep soundly. Zhang Lingch looked at the group at his feet and then at the ferocious beast. The ferocious beast took 2 steps back with some guilt, not daring to look at its master. It seems that Xiaohong, you have been living a very happy life during my absence. You even have a baby. A voice that sounded like a smile but not a smile came. The ferocious beast called Xiaohong lowered its throat and let out a soft whimpering sound, as if it was coquettish. Thinking of something, it ran over, picked up a large package in its mouth, came to Zhang Lingch, and held the thing in front of him in a flattering manner. Zhang Lingch opened the package and found a pile of food and drink inside. Very good, he deliberately left it to look after the house. As a result, it not only ran out and got involved with other unknown beasts, gave birth to a cub, but also let others in. Thinking of the large medicinal field in the back mountain, his expression suddenly changed, and he disappeared in a flash. A moment later, he came back with a dark face. Xiaohong was so suppressed by his power that she lay on the ground whimpering and trembling. Zhang Lingch sneered in his heart, now he knows he is afraid. Why didn't it get scared when we brought outsiders in? Seeing its stupid look, he wanted to strike it with his palm. Why did he pick up such a thing in the first place? Looking at the little beast who was still sleeping like a piglet, his eyelids twitched heavily. Thinking that there would be 2 idiots dangling in front of him in the near future, he felt that the shadow in his heart was even greater. Get in. Zhang Lingch carried the heavy and big bundle into the hall and gave a low shout. Xiaohong rolled smoothly into the hall. Zhang Lingch sat down on a high-end, luxurious, and wide chair at the top of the hall, leaned on the armrest, and opened an oil paper bag with disgust. A sweet and light milky aroma comes out. The bright yellow long strips of meringue are neatly stacked in the paper bag. He picked up one and took a tentative bite. It tastes surprisingly good. After finishing one piece, he reached for the next one. Unconsciously, half of the meringue in the oil paper bag was missing. Zhang Lingch came back to his senses and sighed inwardly, why do you eat so infrequently? After eating delicious snacks, his mood was finally not so bad. Looking at the ferocious beast lying below, I was able to ask questions calmly. Wait a minute, why does he feel that there seems to be some change in that idiot? The coat color is smoother and brighter, and the color of the horns on the head has transitioned from jade white to ice blue, and has become a bit larger. This is evolution, or the bloodline has become purer. But it's still just as stupid. Tell me, what kind of bad luck have you got? Xiaohong told the master everything about her previous experience. In its narration, Shenyazi appears as a human girl with a good smell. Did she also leave these behind? While Zhang Lingch was listening to its story, he had already opened several paper packages one after another. At this time, I was holding a pack of braised pig ears and eating them happily. Xiaohong nodded and walked up to him, looking at his master eagerly, hoping to get some reward. Zhang Lingch picked up a pig ear and waved it in front of its eyes. Want to eat? Certainly. Little Hong's mouth is almost watering. Zhang Lingch smiled tenderly, and the next moment he put the pig ears into his mouth. Well, it tastes really good. Xiaohong looked at him with a very resentful look in her eyes. Zhang Lingch was so amused that he laughed and almost choked. His devilish laughter echoed in the empty hall, which was quite penetrating. Fortunately, there is no second person here. Zhang Ling suddenly stopped laughing and stared at Xiaohong with dark eyes. Xiaohong shivered when he looked at him and lay on the ground shivering. He stretched out his hand and stroked its neck hair slowly. You have stolen so many elixirs from me, and you think I won't care if you keep so little food? I will find you sooner or later, and then. He didn't finish the rest of what he said. Xiaohong had a gut feeling that it wouldn't be a good thing and silently worried about Shen Yizi. At this moment, Shen Yizi, who was being talked about by Zhang Lingch, was hiding in the space, happily eating lobsters. The cause of the matter is this. After entering the space, Qingbao ran to the edge of the pool, looked at the lobsters inside, and arranged them, this, and this. Mother, let's eat them tomorrow. This kid is obviously addicted to eating lobster. Yuan Bao next to him looked at Qingbao and then at the lobster, with surprise gradually appearing in his eyes. He seems to be saying, my brother is so powerful. Not only is he not afraid of these terrible things, he actually dares to eat them. Shen Yizi was so cute by his little expression that he felt guilty when he thought that he was eating lobsters with Qingbao outside, but the child could only stay alone in the space. He immediately agreed, don't wait until tomorrow, let's eat them tonight. Let Yuan Bao have a taste too. Shen Yizi fished out the big lobsters ordered by Qingbao and used his spiritual consciousness to clean them. Then pour it directly into the ever-burning cauldron and cook. It is much faster to use a constant burning cauldron, and it can bring out the deliciousness of the ingredients to the extreme. In just a few minutes, a pot of fragrant oil-braised prawns was ready. Shen Yizi carried the basin to the grass under the peach blossom tree, with two little tails following behind him. She put the basin on the ground and sat directly on the ground. Qingbao and Yuan Bao also followed the same example and crossed their legs. The three ladies gathered around the basin and began to feast. Qingbao has already eaten it once and is already very skilled in the movements. Although Yuan Bao has never eaten it, he is very smart and learned it quickly. He can eat it as fast as Qingbao. The two of them were competing to see who could eat more and faster. Shen Yizi poured a glass of juice for each of them and said helplessly, eat slowly, there is still a lot. The two children looked at each other, then their fat little claws reached into the basin decisively and grabbed a lobster that was as long as three of their hands. Qingbao's way of eating is to lick the surface of the lobster first, from head to toe. After licking, he starts eating from the tail. The tender shrimp tail meat is his favorite. As for Yuan Bao, you start eating it from the tongs. After the tongs are eaten, you eat the shrimp brains, and then the shrimp tails. Seeing that the two little guys' paws and mouths were all greasy after eating, Shen Yizi couldn't help but put his forehead on his hands. Well, just be happy. Of course, how could she miss such a monumental scene? I had already taken out the photo stone and photographed it. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 162. After putting the two babies to sleep, King Bao is really asleep, while Yuan Bao has entered a dormant state similar to falling asleep. Shen Yizi took the image stone and left the space. Space is a separate world, and the rules are different from those outside. The image stone cannot send videos to others. She sat on the bedside and sent the video she just took to Gu Switting. When he receives the video and sees the two Qingbao, he wonders what his reaction will be. The more Shen Yizi thought about it, the more he looked forward to it. The imperial capital, Prince Chen's mansion. Gu Switting was soaking in ice water in the side hall of the dormitory. He was only wearing white pajamas, which were soaked by the water and stuck to his body, revealing his strong skin. Spotting movement on the shadow stone placed by the pool, he immediately picked it up and opened it. In the video, two identical little guys are eating lobster with relish. However, he could tell the difference between the two of them at a glance. The one on the left wearing an ice blue coat was his treasure, while the one on the right wearing a white gown. He stared at it carefully for a while. Apart from his demeanor and movements, he really couldn't see any difference between him and Qingbao. He looks so similar, almost exactly the same. Could it be that he is Qingbao's twin brother? Then why has he never appeared before? Yuan Bao's emergence out of thin air obviously caused him a lot of confusion. Gu Swiding brought the photo stone in front of him, pointed it at himself, and started taking pictures. Zizi, who is the child next to Qingbao. After taking the photo, he sent it to Shen Yizi and waited for her reply. Shen Yizi had just changed into his pajamas. When he walked back to the bed, he saw the shadow stone twinkling. Reply so quickly? As soon as you open it, a picture of a beautiful man taking a bath suddenly appears in front of you. The impact recorded by the photographic stone is so clear that it makes people feel as if they are actually there. Shen Yizi could clearly see his open chest, and a drop of water slid down until it reached his abdomen. See the wet long hair spreading around him, like a black lotus in full bloom. Seeing the thin white pajamas sticking to his abdomen, the well-defined abdominal muscles were clearly outlined. Looking upward, his wrathful handsome face instantly occupied her entire mind. She heard him call hers Hizzy so gently and lowly. Ah! No way, she's going to die. Gu Swiding was simply putting poison in the middle of the night to seduce her with his beauty. If someone was in front of her, she would have to knock him down to see if he dared to challenge her endurance so boldly. This video was very short and finished in one go. Shen Yizi watched it several times again and couldn't help but put his hand on his face, and then moved down. Alas, she really couldn't help it, she really wanted to hang on his neck and bite him hard. She watched the video over 10 times, and the more she watched it, the more itchy she became. She threw herself on the bed and buried her head in the quilt. After a while, she resurrected with full health. Humph, everyone is hers, but she can't hold it in after watching the video. If she does it with real swords and guns in the future, wouldn't she have to throw away her armor and let him do whatever he wants? How can this be done? She has to fight back. Shen Yizi got up, stepped on the soft carpet with bare feet, went to the cloakroom, picked out his sexiest pajamas, and put on them. The pajamas were black and hollow, as smooth as water and clinging to her skin, covering her most important parts. She walked to the soft cave and sat down. She pulled out the green jade hairpin that held her hair up. In an instant, green hair poured down from her head like a waterfall. She picked a strand and placed it on her chest, leaning on the armrest and striking the most sultry pose. Thinking about it, I thought it was a bit too deliberate, so I took another book over, put it on my knees, and pretended to read. Then start recording. Facing the photo stone on the opposite side, she started her performance, holding her chin with one hand. His name is Yuan Bao, the younger brother I found for Qingbao. How about it? Is he as cute as Qingbao? She seemed to be thirsty, so she leaned forward, brought over the water glass placed on the low table, and took 2 sips of water. During the movement, the thin silk her shoulder couldn't bear it and slipped from her shoulder, but she didn't notice it at all. While drinking water, the snow-white and slender neck tightened slightly, completely exposed. At this time, a drop of water fell from her mouth, dripping down her chin into the snow-white ravine that attracted exploration. Shen Yizi felt that it was almost done. His consciousness controlled the photo stone to end the shooting. He poked the photo stone with his white fingertips and sent the video to Gu Swiding. At this time, Gu Swiding had already come out of the pool. He took off his soaked pajamas and put on clean clothes. He took a black robe from the screen and put it on himself casually, and strode out. I took out the photo stone immediately and found that Shen Yizi had a reply, so I clicked it immediately. When he saw the figure appearing on the shadow stone, his breath was suffocated, blood rushed throughout his body, and his brain went blank for a moment. The body reacted almost instantly. He knew that if he continued to watch, he would be the only one who felt uncomfortable, and his brain kept giving orders, close your eyes. However, the eyes seemed to have a will of their own, and at this moment, they were completely fascinated by the fairy-like figure. Until the end of the video, he sat stiffly on the spot. At a certain moment, he suddenly stood up, returned to the side hall again, and strode directly into the cold water. Then he clicked on the video like a self-abuse and watched it over and over again. As for whether he took the opportunity to do anything bad while watching, only he knows. This night, Goose Whitting was destined to have no sleep. As soon as I closed my eyes, Shen Yizi's figure was all in my mind. The way she leans on the couch, the way she drinks water, the way her red lips lightly open. Frame after frame played over and over again in his mind, torturing him so much that he wished he could catch the person immediately. Let her know the consequences of teasing him deliberately like this. She probably didn't know that the book in her hand was held upside down. Thinking of this, Goose Whitting couldn't help but cover his eyes and laughed softly. His voice had a rustling texture, which was different from the usual King Yu. Instead, it revealed a bit of indescribable sexiness and charm. The eyes under the palms were already dyed with a layer of demonic blood. When the sky was approaching and the light was shining, Goose Whitting was able to fall asleep, and then he had a dream. In the dream, she was wearing the outfit in the video, like a mermaid swimming nimbly in the water. He wanted to catch her, but she was too slippery to hold on. She jumped into the water and emerged from the other side. Come out and try to catch him no matter what. Goose Whitting stood in the water, no longer chasing blindly, but patiently waiting for her to be caught. Sure enough, when she found that he was no longer chasing after her, she took the initiative to come over and hugged him from behind. Goose Whitting's strike was like lightning, not allowing her to escape anymore. He grabbed her and pressed her hard into his arms. He lowered his head and captured the lips he had longed for a long time. However, at a certain moment, he discovered a fact that made him collapse. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 163. Her original 2 legs turned into a tail at some point. The tail was so beautiful that it wrapped around his body and made him feel excited. He has an arrow on the string and has no choice but to shoot it, but now he has no way to get in. Zhizzy, be good, change back. He kissed her fascinatedly, wanting to rub her into his bones. No, she rejected him naughtily and willfully. Do you feel uncomfortable? Let me help you. At this moment, a savage voice sounded outside the hall. Go away, even I dare to stop you, are you too ambitious? Goose Whitting woke up instantly, and the charming dream melted away and disappeared without a trace. Shen Yi knew that she didn't know this. She slept soundly that night, and when she got up in the morning, she felt refreshed and in a happy mood. She finished washing and woke up the 2 babies. Which of you wants to go out with me today? Brothers Qingbao and Yuanbao held hands nicely and looked at each other without saying a word. Obviously, over the past few days, the 2 have established a deep revolutionary friendship and are reluctant to be separated from each other. It seems that neither of you want to go out. Okay, then you just stay here and finish the homework I assigned before you can go to the amusement park, you know. Well, mother, don't worry, the baby will be very obedient, Qingbao promised. Shen Yizi didn't believe him. This guy was getting more and more naughty. If she didn't look at him for a while, he would go to heaven. It is unrealistic to expect him to stay calm. I will let Uncle Yu Chain watch you. Whoever of you can finish your homework quickly and well today will get 2 ice creams and play in the amusement park for an extra half hour. Shen Yizi proposed a reward mechanism. The 2 little guys looked at each other, fighting spirit igniting in their eyes. Xiao Chang, watch them carefully before going out, Shen Yizi sent a message to Yi Chang. Hanbei couldn't help but ask when he didn't see Qingbao during breakfast. Shen Yi knew, this kid played until very late and went to bed last night. He hasn't gotten up yet. Don't worry about him. I put food for him by the bed. When he wakes up, he will eat by himself. If he is hungry, not to him. After breakfast, Shen Yizi took Hanbei to work. She sent Gan Wu out to fish for lobsters, while Kun San stayed at home to look after the house. Within 2 days, Kui Mi and Mo Fei Yang arrived. The enrollment matter has come to an end, and Kui Mi can't wait to see his granddaughter. This Ljiazhuang is really a paradise. Kui Mi walked along and couldn't help but sigh when he saw the beautiful scenery along the way. Mo Fei Yang was also a little surprised. He stepped forward to ask about the location of the Shen family. The villagers thought they were here to see a doctor and pointed directly to the Shen's medical center. When the two came to the medical center, they saw many people sitting in the grass pavilion outside. Li Xiaodong, who was registering patient numbers, saw them and stepped forward to greet them. Are you two here to see a doctor? Sit here. Kui Mi smiled and said, no, we are here to find someone. In the pharmacy, Hanbei, who was giving medicine to a patient, heard Li Xiaodong running in and saying that his grandpa was here. He subconsciously wanted to run out to greet him, but he had not finished what he was doing, so he had to hold back and said, Xiaodong, please greet me. Call my grandpa and I'll be out right away. Okay. Li Xiaodong came out and said, old sir, Sister Beiluo is still busy and can't get away now. Please come and sit here for a while. She will come out soon. Kui Mi waved his hand, it's okay, I'll just walk around for a while, little brother, go and do your work, don't worry about us. He didn't mean it in a nice way, but he really wanted to hang around. The medical center was surrounded by plants, flowers, and trees, and the scenery was pleasant. At a glance, he saw several unusual flowers. He was quite itchy and wanted to see them up close. Li Xiaodong would not stop him, old sir, please do as you please. Having worked in a medical clinic for a long time, he has made great progress in dealing with people. He is no longer the young man who could not speak clearly when meeting strangers. Mo Fei Yang was not interested in those flowers and plants, but under the intimidation of Kui Mi's eyes, he had to follow them. Then he discovered that these flowers and plants were more or less contaminated with spiritual energy, which was different from ordinary plants and trees. He immediately thought of Shen Yizi. Grandpa. Before coming, Kui Mi was eager to see his granddaughter, but after arriving, he was fascinated by the flowers and plants. Hanbei was originally worried that he would be impatient, but when he came out, he saw his granddaughter squatting in front of an epiphyllum, muttering something in his mouth. Mo Fei Yang, on the other hand, leaned against a jujube tree as thick as a bowl, with his arms crossed. The warm sunlight filtered through the branches and leaves and shone on his face, making his face even fairer and more handsome. Hanbei suddenly felt something strange in his heart. Mo Fei Yang seemed to realize something and turned his head to look over. The moment their eyes met, Hanbei quickly looked away and walked over uncomfortably. Grandpa, Uncle Fu. Just ignored Mo Fei Yang. Mo Fei Yang stared at her reddish cheeks and smiled suddenly. The little girl didn't dare to look at him. Was she shy? When Kui Mi heard his granddaughter's voice, he smiled from the bottom of his heart. Is Beilu here? You haven't finished your work yet? You don't have to worry about Grandpa, you can go about your business. I'll just come here and look at the flowers. Grandpa came all the way, how could Hanbei leave him alone? Grandpa, the hospital is not very busy right now. I have already asked Sisters Hizzy for leave. Come on, I will take you back to drink some water and have a rest. You are sweating all over your head. She took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. Kui Mi was so happy to have his granddaughter wipe her sweat for the first time that he had nowhere to put his hands and feet. Mo Fei Yang watched from the side, feeling sour in his heart. How I want to switch with Mr. Kui. Han Bailuo took Kui Mi's arm and led him to Shen's house. Mo Fei Yang walked beside her schemingly. Kui Fu followed silently. When they arrived at Shen's house, Kui Mi and the others could clearly feel that the surrounding area had become much cooler. Mo Fei Yang is also a monk, so he naturally understands the reason for this. It is estimated that Shen Yazi set up a cooling array around him. The formation consumes spiritual stones every moment, and this fellow Daoist Shen is really willing to do it. Mo Fei Yang has a better understanding of Shen Yazi's trench. Han Bailuo poured a cup of warm tea for each of the 3 people, and brought watermelon and grapes simmered with well water. Grandpa, try this melon. It's really sweet. The fruits she eats at home are naturally grown by Shen Yazi in the fields outside. She pours some diluted spiritual spring water from time to time. Although they are not comparable to those in space, they taste much better than those grown by the villagers. Phew. Han Bailuo usually doesn't feel much after eating a lot, but Kui Mi and the others can clearly feel the difference. Well, this melon is really good. It was sweet and crispy, and there were few seeds. He ate 3 pieces of it before he knew it. After eating the melon, Kui Mi thought about the epiphyllum he saw earlier. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 164. Han Bailuo is funny, her grandpa really deserves to be a nymphomaniac. Not only at the medical center, there are many flowers planted all over the village. There are enough for you to see. But the sun is a little bright now, so you should rest in the house first. When it gets cooler in the evening, I will accompany you. Look, okay. Han Bailuo was good-natured and his tone was like coaxing a child. Kui Mi was very helpful. Okay, I'll just stay in the house and not go anywhere. But he soon discovered that the flowers in this room were even more stunning. Honeysuckle, jasmine, roses, water lilies, orchids, platycodon, almost all the flowers he could think of at this time of the year were available here. The front and back of the yard were so gorgeous, which really surprised him. Looking at everything, everything is well maintained. The leaves are bright green and the petals are bright. Under the eaves, there are several pots of epiphyllums. The ones here are better than those at the medical center. The bud is as big as a sea bowl. I don't know how breathtakingly beautiful it will be when it blooms. Kui Mi squatted in front of him and watched, his eyes and heart greedy. These flowers are fresh in shape and refreshing in taste, and just being around them makes people feel refreshed. When people raise flowers, they also nourish people. If you stay in such an environment for a long time, the human body will naturally be nourished, and the benefits are obvious. You can see it from Bailu's face. It is an excellent complexion that can only be maintained by being in a happy mood, eating well, and sleeping well. It shows how comfortable she is living here. Thinking of this, Kui Mi felt even more grateful to Shen Yazi. In addition to presiding over enrollment matters in the past few days, he also inquired about Xia Bailu's past news in many ways, hoping to know more about her. He originally thought that what Bailu told him was bitter enough, but he didn't expect that there would be even more bitterness. His Bailu, without him knowing it, was actually living like this. Fortunately, she met Miss Shen and got out of the quagmire of the Han family. Otherwise, I don't know how much suffering she would have suffered. Originally, he planned to take Bailu back to make up for her. But seeing the environment she was living in now, he couldn't help but hesitate. Think about it for a moment, if he were in Bailu's position, would he be willing to leave such a paradise and go to a distant and unfamiliar place? Unwilling. But Bailu did not refuse outright, but said that he would think about it for a while. It was obvious that the child cared about him as an old man and did not want him to be left alone. For Bailu's sake, he couldn't be so selfish as to tie her to him in the name of family affection and keep her away from these friends who were good to her. So, at this moment, Kui Lao made a decision in his heart. He is resigning as the dean of Zhengrong Academy and coming here to live with Bailu. Anyway, he doesn't have many relatives there. He is a lonely old man, where can he live? Now that I have retired, I am just taking care of myself. In the future, I will find a good husband for Bailu. When his great-grandson is born, he will enlighten the child and teach him to read and write. Thinking of that scene, a smile appeared on Kui Mi's face unconsciously. It feels beautiful just thinking about days like that. When he came back to his senses, he found that Mo Fei Yang was actually holding Bailu against the wall. The two of them were very close. He immediately became angry and yelled, "You bastard, what are you doing?" He walked over in a few steps and pulled Mo Fei Yang away. His agility was unbelievable for an old man of his age. Facing the old man's angry glare, Mo Fei Yang rubbed his nose and finally found a chance to get along with Xiao Luo. However, he didn't get any benefits, so he was interrupted. The person who interrupted was someone he couldn't afford to offend. "Mr. Kui, I just want to ask Bailu." Before he finished speaking, Kui Mi exploded, "Did you call me Bailu too?" When he saw this kid following him diligently and helping him run forward and backward, he originally thought this kid was good, but now he felt that he had to re-examine him. Look for opportunities to get close to Bailu as soon as you come here. If you are so impatient, will you be able to live a good life in the future? It's a good thing that Mo Fei Yang didn't know what he was thinking, otherwise he would have been accused of injustice. He really didn't want to do anything, he just talked to his sweetheart. At noon, Shen Yizi made a special trip back and made a pot of braised beans and noodles, along with a pot of cold edamame, a plate of cucumbers, preserved eggs mixed with tofu, a dish of lufa and egg drop soup, and a plate of soy sauce meat. Except for the braised noodles, the other dishes require very little effort and are ready in less than half an hour. "Mr. Kui, I didn't have enough time at noon, so I made something simple. Don't be offended, I'll make a good meal for you in the evening." Kui Mi couldn't help but wave his hand, "I know what you said, these are enough." He was not just saying polite words. He was a little flattered when he saw the 4 dishes and 1 soup in front of him, as well as the braised noodles that were full of ingredients and fragrant. Shen Yizi smiled, took out the fruit wine, and poured a glass for everyone. This meal was very harmonious. It was okay for the 5 or so people who were used to eating. When Kui Mi and his 3 tasted Shen Yizi's craftsmanship for the first time, they were instantly impressed. They originally thought that as guests, they had to be more reserved, but when they tasted the delicious food, they couldn't help it. Can you be reserved? Don't wave your chopsticks too cheerfully. I didn't even bother to talk in the middle of the meal, but just kept eating. After this meal, Kui Mi became more determined to stay here and retire. After dinner, Shen Yizi arranged Mr. Kui in the remaining wing, next to Han Bailuo. As for Mo Fei Yang, it is already very kind to let him eat. Where else can he stay? Mo Fei Yang himself didn't have any objections. After all, to Shen Yizi, he was just a person of unknown origin whom he had only known for a few days. If it were him, he wouldn't leave such a person at home. But he turned around and ran to Han Bailuo, pretending to be aggrieved. "Xiao Luo, I'm going to sleep on the street at night. What should I do if I catch a cold?" Han Bailuo gave him a big look. "It's summer now. Will he catch a cold at night?" She ignored him at all and arranged for her grandfather to lie down and take a nap. After coming out, she went directly to the hospital. Mo Fei Yang followed behind him all the way to the hospital. "Don't bother her, just watch from the side. If she is too busy, silently step forward to help her." In this regard, Han Bailuo did not refuse. Someone came up and asked for help, why didn't she accept it? When he finished looking at the last patient, Shenyazi looked at his watch and saw that it was already past 7 o'clock. But it's getting dark now, so everything is still bright. After Shenyazi returned home, he asked Han Bailuo and Kun San to help him and began to prepare a sumptuous dinner. There are many people, so she plans to cook hot pot. She had already stewed the soup at noon and let Kun San watch it. After simmering it for an afternoon, the soup was already very fragrant. Just need to adjust the cutting materials again. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 165. Meat such as fish, beef, and mutton are cut into slices as thin as snow and neatly stacked in a large bowl filled with ice. A variety of meatballs, vegetables, as well as vermicelli, dumplings, tofu, quail eggs, kelp, mushrooms, egg dumplings, etc., placed on plates and bowls, and placed around the soup pot. Shenyazi made several more convenient cooked dishes, such as crispy pork, lotus root clips, fried chicken legs, etc. Of course, ice cream is also indispensable. Hot pot with ice cream is simply delicious. The soup in the pot is boiling, bubbling and fragrant. Shenyazi used serving chopsticks to put down some food and went in. Everyone can pick up whatever they want to eat. You're welcome. Everyone has a small plate in front of them, which contains the sauce prepared by Shenyazi according to their taste. Shenyazi likes spicy food, so she put more chili peppers. When the mutton slices were cooked, she rolled them in the sauce plate and put them in her mouth. At that moment, she felt like she was going to ascend to heaven. Qingbao was busy scooping out the ice cream to eat, but seeing his mother eating it so temptingly, he suddenly felt that the ice cream became less attractive. He leaned over and opened his mouth. "Mother, I want it too." Shenyazi scalded a piece of beef, dipped it in the sauce, blew on it, and brought it to his mouth. "It's a bit hot, eat it slowly." He had short hands and the pot was placed in the middle of the table, so it was not convenient for him to eat. Shenyazi boiled a lot of things for him at once, put them in his bowl and let him eat slowly. As soon as each dish is finished, a new one is served, and the plates on the table are both empty and full. As a monk, Shenyazi has not yet reached the stage of fasting, so he has a great need for food. Needless to say, Qingbao, a small person, has an appetite as good as hers. Qianwu and Kun San are both martial arts practitioners, and Mo Fei Yang is also a monk, and they both have huge appetites. This table is full, so Han Bailuo and Kui Mi only have 2 appetites, which is the standard of ordinary people. In the end, both the grandfather and grandson were so full that their intestines and stomachs were filled with food, while the others were still fighting. And it seemed that he could still fight for a long time, which made the 2 of them envious. They also want to continue eating, but their stomachs no longer allow it. With no eyes on sight and no appetite for food, we helped each other to the yard and went for a walk to eat. The sky is dotted with stars, and bright lanterns are hung under the eaves. The lights inside are not candles, but luminous stones. It will automatically light up at night. There are also floor lamps scattered in the yard, illuminating everything. The night wind blows on me, gentle and cool. The flowers and plants all over the courtyard are quietly exuding their fragrance, making people feel relaxed and peaceful. At such a moment, the petals of the pot of epiphyllum under the eaves that Kui Mi coveted during the day slowly unfolded. Han Bailuo was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly shouted inside, "Sisters Hizzy, come and see. The epiphyllum has bloomed." Shenyazi hurriedly carried Qingbao out. The moment he saw the epiphyllum blooming, he was stunned by the beauty. After reacting, he quickly took out the photo stone to record the beautiful and dreamy scene in front of him. "It's a pity that I only recorded half of it, which makes me feel a little regretful." Soon, she thought that she could actually try to use the spiritual spring to ripen the epiphyllum, and artificially create the moment when the epiphyllum blooms. There are also many epiphyllums in the space. She will try it later. The sight of thousands of epiphyllums vying to bloom will be absolutely beautiful. Everyone held their breath and watched the epiphyllum blooming in front of them. How many people will never see such a beautiful scene in their entire lives? Since they are lucky enough to encounter it, why don't they take a closer look at it? However, at the most beautiful moment when the epiphyllum was fully blooming, Shenyazi suddenly destroyed the flower with his hands and plucked the entire epiphyllum on the branch, which was as big as a basin. Kuimi was so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. You. Mr. Kui, the epiphyllum is so beautiful, can you bear to watch it wither and wither? Kuimi fell silent, obviously unable to bear it. So, instead of waiting for it to wither, it is better to pick it when it is at its most beautiful and make it into delicious food. As the saying goes, the flowers must be cut off when they are in bloom, but the branches must be cut off when there are no flowers. Kuimi. Is this sentence used in this way? Don't think that because he is older, it is easy to fool him. However, the flowers have already been picked, what can he say? Shenyazi immediately took the epiphyllum into the kitchen. Hanbeiluo and Kun-san wanted to come in to help, but she refused. It's just a small snack, you don't need it, just sit outside. What she is going to make this time is pancake jelly. The method is very simple. Put the epiphyllum petals into a pot and cook over low heat. The petals melt little by little and become sticky. Then she pours in the syrup boiled in another pot little by little and stirs slowly. Until the two are completely blended together, regardless of each other, becoming a beautiful bright red. Shenyazi added the foamed egg white into it and continued to stir. Then put the mixture in the pot into wine cups, put them into the ever-burning cauldron and freeze them. Take it out in a few minutes and the pancake jelly is ready. The color is a very beautiful and delicate light pink, and it smells of a light milky fragrance and the unique clear fragrance of epiphyllum. Shenyazi put the jelly in the tray and took it out. Here, the jelly is ready, one for each person. There is a small spoon in the tray. Qingbeidang took a cup first and handed it to Kuimi. Grandpa Kui, you eat. He then thoughtfully handed over a small spoon. Kuimi suddenly smiled, and the depression in his heart because the best night bloom was destroyed in front of him and he was unable to save it also dissipated. Qingbao gave another drink to each of the others, and finally it was his turn. Seeing him like this, Shenyazi was very pleased. He was worthy of being her cub, he was indeed sensible and considerate. At this time, she selectively forgot about Qingbao's naughty behavior. Epiphyllum jelly tastes a bit like ice cream, but it is softer and smoother than ice cream. It is a bit like a combination of jelly and ice cream. In short, it's so delicious that you don't want to leave it alone. Before Kuimi put down the spoon, he felt that it was a waste of natural resources, such a beautiful and exquisite epiphyllum. Then after taking it into his mouth, he instantly threw the epiphyllum out of his mind. Looking at the small cup in his hand, he felt that he could easily eat 180 cups. It's a pity that there is only one cup. No matter how slowly he ate and how cherished he was, the jelly in his hand soon ran out. He scraped the cup with a spoon, not even missing the little scraps. Finally, he licked the spoon. His movements and demeanor were the same as Qingbao's. Sensing something was wrong, Kuimi looked up and found that everyone was staring at him, and his face suddenly turned red. The scene of gluttony was seen by these juniors. It was really embarrassing and embarrassing. Kuimi forced his respect, and said with a pretended calm face, "Ahem, this epiphyllum jelly tastes very good. I'm full, so I'll go back to my room first, and you young people can eat slowly." When his figure disappeared from sight, Shenyazi and Hanbeiluo looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. This old gentleman is really cute. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, The Miracle Doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 166. Back in the room, Shen Yizi took Qingbao into the space, took Yuanbao into his arms and kissed him hard. I'm sorry Yuanbao, mother will go and make you something delicious right now. She quickly made 3 dishes and 1 soup using the ever-burning cauldron. Yuanbao doesn't need to eat, but she uses spiritual materials produced in the space for cooking. After entering his body, they will not produce impurities, but will be converted into pure energy to supply his daily needs. So now he has also developed the habit of eating. Seeing him sitting obediently at the low table eating, Shen Yizi touched his head. Qingbao had obviously already eaten, and his belly was bulging, but when he saw Yuanbao eating, he became greedy again and went over to have a meal. Shen Yizi saw the 2 brothers sitting together lovingly enjoying the food, and took out a photo stone to take a photo of the scene. After putting the 2 little ones to sleep, Shen Yizi secretly changed into a beautiful dress. Elegant and without losing the fairy style. Shen Yizi held up her skirt and walked among the epiphyllums in the space, looking for the best shooting spot. After finding it, she cast a spiritual rain spell, turning the spiritual spring into rainwater, which fell on the epiphyllum. With the irrigation of spiritual rain, the epiphyllums that were about to bloom bloomed one after another. Shen Yizi held the photo stone in mid-air with his mind and took pictures of himself walking among the flowers from various angles. Here comes a beautiful back, the camera slowly advances, turns around and looks back with a smile, a close-up. Shen Yizi had a lot of fun and took a video for about 10 minutes. After shooting, watch it from beginning to end and delete the less perfect scenes. This is also a function she just discovered. After editing the video, Shen Yizi watched it again. Well, it's beautiful. Send it to Gu Switting. In Prince Chen's mansion, Gu Switting was practicing when the shadow stone in his arm suddenly shook. This means that a new video has been uploaded. The eyes under his eyelids moved slightly, and the video that Shen Yizi sent last night suddenly appeared in his mind. She is as beautiful as a fairy in the picture who specializes in sucking people's soul. It took him a whole day to barely restrain himself from thinking about her and suppress the urge to go to her immediately. However, at this moment, her video came again. Should he click on it or try to ignore it? After enduring it for a long time, Gu Switting finally took out the shadow stone. He was afraid that he would go crazy if he endured it any longer. Click on the latest video. This time, she was still so beautiful that he was fascinated by her, but unlike the little fairy last night, tonight she was painted in the style of a fairy. As beautiful as a flower fairy that accidentally fell into the world, ethereal and pure. It instantly aroused the desire deep in his heart. I want to throw her down among the flowers, let her cry for him, laugh for him, be stained with his scent, and bear his traces. Gu Switting closed his eyes and pressed his chest, which was beating rapidly. This heart is no longer his. Her every smile and every move pulls it, making it unable to help but worrying about gains and losses, but yet it is so joyful. Zizzy, do you know the consequences of provoking me like this? He murmured quietly. In the small building, Shen Yizi sent the video and waited for Gu Switting's reply. Who knows, I waited and waited, but nothing came. Could it be that it was too late and he had already gone to bed, so he didn't see her video? Shen Yizi rolled around with his pillow in his arms, feeling a little unhappy. Humph, Gu Switting, you are such a big pig, how dare you make me unhappy? My aunt will have to make you realize the seriousness of the problem when we meet next time. Shen Yizi was depressed for a while, but soon calmed down and actively devoted himself to cultivation. Cultivation is something that cannot be slacked off for even a day. Furthermore, she felt that she had had signs of breakthrough recently, and she practiced more diligently. As her understanding of the world gradually deepens, she feels that only by becoming stronger can she have the capital to settle down and live a leisurely life with Qingbao and Yuanbao. She was practicing hard without any distractions, but Goose Whitting was suffering. The inner lake that had finally calmed down was once again disturbed by her, and he spent another sleepless night. Asterisk. Outside the yard, Mo Fei Yang looked at the closed door in front of him, raised his eyebrows, and jumped lightly, preparing to be a gentleman visiting his boudoir at night. Xiao Luo's sleeping posture must be very cute. I hope she won't be too shocked when she sees him. Imagining what Han Beiluo would look like when he saw him, the corners of Mo Fei Yang's lips couldn't help but curl up. However, the gap between reality and fantasy is too big. In fact, he couldn't even get through the door. Blocked by the formation. His understanding of the formation is only at a very superficial stage, and it is very difficult for him to sneak in without alerting the master of the formation. Well, it's not just difficult, it's impossible. Aware of this, Mo Fei Yang's originally cheerful expression suddenly turned into one of bitterness and hatred. He stared at the door as if he wanted to penetrate the door. By Liao, isn't it just a one-night absence? He can afford to wait. Mo Fei Yang randomly chose a tree, jumped up on it, and lay down on the thick branches, which became a natural bed. The surrounding flowers are full of fragrance, and when you look up, you can see the twinkling stars in the sky. Compared with sleeping on a bed, it is a bit more wild and feels good. However, it didn't take long before he fled down in embarrassment. For no other reason, he chose a gardenia tree, and gardenia trees attract mosquitoes. Although with his current physical strength, he is no longer afraid of mosquitoes, but those bugs are always buzzing in his ears, which is really annoying, isn't it? Killing and killing endlessly. To think that he, a dignified monk, a celestial being in the eyes of mortals, was actually stumped by a swarm of mosquitoes, which would make people laugh out loud. Yet it is indeed the case. What can Mo Fei Yang do? The only option is to change the tree. This time things are better, but the annoyance of mosquitoes is still inevitable. I can only use a sound insulation spell to block out those annoying sounds, so that I can sleep peacefully. The next morning, Han Beiluo opened the door and saw a person leaning against the door when he came out. He was startled. When he looked again, he found that it was Mo Fei Yang. "What are you doing at my door?" she asked angrily. Mo Fei Yang slipped in when the door opened after Qianwu got up, and waited for Han Beiluo to wake up. As a result, I didn't sleep very well last night. I fell from a tree twice and was frightened awake once by bugs crawling over my body. It is difficult for outsiders to understand the hardships involved. So he leaned against the door and took a nap, and fell asleep while dozing. Had Han Beiluo not opened the door in time, he would have fallen to the ground. "Xiao Luo, you're awake. Here, I'll give it to you. I picked it early in the morning, and it's still stained with dew. Do you want me to put it on for you?" Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 167. Mo Fei Yang handed over a handful of gardenias, with green stems and leaves, fragrant white petals, and a rich aroma. There were indeed a few crystal dewdrops on the petals, making them look particularly fresh. He saw that many women in the village liked to wear this flower in their buns, so he picked it specially to show his courtesy. Han Beiluo would not let him wear flowers for himself. Doesn't he know what it means for a man to wear flowers for a woman? Or is it that he has always been so charming? When you see a good-looking woman, just approach her. Thinking of this, Han Beiluo's mood suddenly worsened. Without even looking at him, he walked past him towards the front hall. "What's going on here? You were fine just now, why did you suddenly change your face?" Mo Fei Yang was puzzled. Looking at the flowers in his hand, he couldn't throw them away, right? Then he found a porcelain bowl with white background and blue and white flowers, filled it with water, put gardenias in it, and placed it on Han Beiluo's window sill. This way her house will always be filled with fragrance. Mo Fei Yang took a step back and looked at the gardenias in the bowl, and then played with them again before showing a satisfied look. Shen Yizi came out and happened to see this scene. Mo Fei Yang was slightly embarrassed, but he quickly let go and nodded to her and said hello. Shen Yizi smiled back. While preparing breakfast, Li Chuntao came carrying a basket of water chestnuts. Sisters Hizi, my brother came back from Tianzhou Lake Network early in the morning to give Qingbao a taste. Shen Yizi had eaten this kind of wild water chestnut once in her life. Despite its small size, it tasted very good. The white flesh inside was tender and sweet. Unfortunately, she never had the chance to eat it again after that time. Looking at the basket full of water chestnuts, she was very happy. She stopped Li Chuntao, who was about to leave after giving away the water chestnuts, and went to pick a basket of grapes from the grape trellis in the yard. The grapes have been ripe in the past 2 days. Take them back and eat them, pick it again after eating. Although these grapes are not as good as those grown in space, they are irrigated by dilute spiritual springs from time to time, so they are full and crystal clear, like fine purple agate beads. Li Chuntao felt a little greedy when she saw it. She picked one immediately and threw it into her mouth without fear of getting dirty. When she took a bite, the peel burst open and the sweet juice filled her mouth. Well, sisters Hizi, these grapes are so delicious. Going home happily with the basket in hand. This day was not very busy. It was only after 5 o'clock after receiving the last patient. Shen Yizi thought that it had been a long time since he had cooked a big meal, so he planned to go back and cook a good meal. Oven roasted chicken, crystal elbow, sweet beef soup, squab in oil, steamed pork with lotus leaves, boiled tofu with small white bait, plus a few refreshing side dishes, the whole table is complete. Everyone at the table enjoyed their meal with great enjoyment. After eating, the table was cleared, and Shen Yizi was not in a hurry to go back to his room. Instead, he moved out a bamboo deck chair and sat in the yard to enjoy the cool air. Others followed suit. The moon is bright and clear, the evening breeze is blowing gently, the fragrance fills the sleeves, and the atmosphere is harmonious. Chong chong, a firefly flew in, causing Qingbao to exclaim. He ran over and tried to catch the insect, but every time he tried to catch it, the insect ran away again. Shen Yizi looked at his expression of frustration and excitement, and couldn't help but laugh, but he didn't go to help. Han Bailuo couldn't stand it anymore and volunteered, Qingbao, let me help you. She feels that she is much better than Qingbao, a kid like Qingbao. Isn't it easy to catch a firefly? It turned out that she had overestimated herself. Not only did she fail to catch the bug, she almost collided with Qingbao, causing a burst of laughter, especially Mo Fei Yang who laughed the loudest. Why are you laughing? If you have the ability, catch it yourself, Han Bailuo shouted at him angrily. Mo Fei Yang immediately walked over with his long legs, stretched out his long arms, and caught the fireflies. Caught, caught. Uncle Mo is so powerful, Qingbao jumped excitedly and raised the sky-swallowing bottle. Uncle Mo, help me put it in. If the sky-swallowing bottle is not in the sky-swallowing mode, it will look like an ordinary transparent bottle. When the fireflies enter, it will emit a bright firelight. Qingbao stared through the bottle wall. Perhaps they were attracted by the dense spiritual energy in the yard. After a while, a large group of fireflies flew in. Some stayed among the flowers, some flew among the grape trellises, and some were not even afraid of people and stayed near people. Very close. In an instant, the entire courtyard became a world of fireflies. The pale yellow light enveloped everything in the courtyard, like a dreamy veil, which was extremely beautiful. Shen Yizi once again took out the photo stone to record this beautiful and dreamy scene. These beautiful scenes are like shining pearls, lighting up the whole life. In order to show off in front of his sweetheart, Mo Fei Yang took Qingbao's bottle and said, "Wait, uncle, I'll fill up your bottle right now." Shen Yizi smiled sullenly and filled the sky-swallowing bottle. "Young man, are you serious?" A bad idea suddenly came to her mind. She waved to Han Beiluo and whispered a few words in her ear. Han Beiluo looked suspicious, and Shen Yizi pushed her, "Trust me, go ahead." Since Sisters Hizi said this, it must be true. Han Beiluo immediately came to Mo Fei Yang without doubting his presence. "Can you really fill this bottle? You're looking down on me, aren't you? Let alone such a small bottle, even if it is several times bigger, I can still fill it." Mo Fei Yang is still very confident about this. "I think you are pretending to be dissatisfied," Han Beiluo said lightly. "How can this little girl look down on him so much? How about we make a bet? If I fill it up, you will agree to a condition." Mo Fei Yang felt that this was an opportunity that came to his door, and of course he had to take advantage of it to benefit himself. Han Beiluo knew by looking at his expression that his plan was definitely not a good idea, but out of her trust in Shen Yizi, she didn't panic at all. "What if you pretend to be dissatisfied? You have to agree to a condition." "Okay." Mo Fei Yang agreed readily, because in his opinion, he had definitely won the bet. He confidently took the bottle and went to catch fireflies. The bottle in his hand is no more than the height of his hand, and it won't take a minute to fill it up. Shen Yizi held Qingbao on his lap and whispered something into his ear. Qingbao understood immediately and converted the sky-swallowing bottle in Mo Fei Yang's hand into sky-swallowing mode. Shen Yizi kissed Qingbao on the face. "Baby, that's great. Next, let's wait and see." Mo Fei Yang deflated. Mo Fei Yang is like a butterfly, shuttling back and forth in the yard, catching fireflies one by one and putting them in a bottle. Having caught dozens of them, he thought they were almost done. He looked into the bottle. At this glance, he immediately realized that something was wrong. Why did those fireflies become like sesame seeds after being put into the bottle? Dozens of fireflies only occupy a space the size of a fingernail in the bottle, which is far from being filled with at least several hundred fireflies. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 168. As a monk, Mo Fei Yang quickly realized that this ordinary-looking bottle was actually a space magic weapon. And the space inside is obviously not small. The most important thing is that it can contain living animals. He has never heard of such a treasure, let alone seeing it. At that moment, he felt an almost uncontrollable greed and wanted to take possession of this rare treasure. Shen Yizi sat there with Qingbao in his arms, staring at him at leisure, not missing every subtle expression on his face, and not worried at all that he would the sky-swallowing bottle away. As long as he made the slightest move, she would take him down immediately. This bet, she did want to tease him out of fun at first, but later she realized that this was also a good opportunity to test his character. The result was obviously good. Mo Fei Yang passed her test. Han Beiluo obviously also discovered the abnormality in the bottle. Looking at Mo Fei Yang's depressed expression, he couldn't help laughing. Now he was definitely defeated. Is Mo Fei Yang someone who gives up so easily? When we made the bet just now, there was no time limit, right? Don't worry, I will fill the bottle sooner or later. Han Beiluo's laughter stopped abruptly. Shen Yizi was also caught off guard. The two of them looked at each other and had some bad premonitions. Sure enough, the next development confirmed their hunch. Mo Fei Yang held the bottle and kept catching fireflies, as if he would not stop until the bottle was full. Seeing him filling up the bottle little by little, Han Beiluo became afraid. Sisters Hizi, what should I do? Shen Yizi blinked and said, irresponsibly, I think you should just follow him. Han Beiluo. Sisters Hizi, that's not what you said before. Do you want to see Mo Fei Yang make a fool of himself? I have an idea. You make a bet with him on whether he can fill the bottle. If it is not full, you can take the opportunity to make a request and punish him severely. She remembers everything clearly. As a result, she has changed her mind now. Sisters Hizzy mistook me. It's late at night, so I'll take Qingbao back to sleep. You can do it yourself. Shen Yizi ran away with Qingbao in his arms. On the other side, Mr. Kui had fallen asleep on the bamboo chair and had no idea about the tricks of these young people. Qianwu and Kun San were cultivating silently on the sidelines, while focusing on Qingbao. After Shen Yizi left with Qingbao, the two of them also returned to the room. In a blink of an eye, Han Beiluo and Mo Fei Yang were the only two people left in the yard. Mo Fei Yang shook the bottle in his hand at Han Beiluo and said softly, "I have already filled a little half of it, and the remaining half will always be filled. Han Beiluo, let's wait until you fill it up." She walked up to Kui Mi and gently shook him awake. "Grandpa, go sleep in the house. It's easy to catch a cold outside." "Ah. Why did I fall asleep?" Kui Mi murmured unconsciously, and was helped back to the room by Han Beiluo. When he returned to his room, he sobered up and said, "Beiluo, Grandpa has something to tell you." Han Beiluo sat down and said, "Well, you tell me. Didn't Grandpa say that he would take you back to Dan City?" Han Beiluo thought he was bringing it up to know her decision, so he immediately said, "Grandpa, I have thought about it clearly. I will go back to Dan City with you." Now it was Kui Mi's turn to have nothing to say. "Beiluo, are you reluctant to leave here? Are you reluctant to leave Miss Shen and these friends?" "I can't bear to part with you, but Grandpa, it's not like I will never come back after I leave this time. I will still have the opportunity to meet Sisters Hizzy and the others in the future. If not, I can still communicate with them. But now I only have you, Grandpa, as a relative. I want to stay with you, Grandpa." Han Beiluo rested his head on Kui Mi's lap, like an obedient cat. Kui Mi stroked her hair and was deeply moved. "Beiluo, Grandpa has written back and wants to resign as the dean. From now on, Grandpa will be here to accompany you." Han Beiluo was startled. "Grandpa, you don't have to do this for me." "Silly boy, Grandpa has been the dean for more than 10 years. It's time to retire, and it's not because of you. Jiazhuang is a good place. From now on, Grandpa will build a small courtyard here to take care of himself and live a comfortable life." Seeing that there was really no regret or reluctance on his face, Han Beiluo believed it and became happy. "When the time comes, we can build the yard next to Sisters Hizzy's house and become her neighbor. It's only a few steps away. How nice. It's all up to you." Grandfather and grandson were thinking about the future with great interest, and the more they talked, the more energetic they became. However, Kui Mi was old after all and couldn't bear it anymore and yawned several times. Han Beiluo couldn't help but blame himself. "Grandpa, go to bed quickly." Han covered Kui Mi with a quilt himself. Because formations were set up inside and outside the courtyard, the temperature was kept relatively cool, so a thin quilt was needed at night. Han Beiluo walked out briskly and closed the door gently. However, when he turned around and saw Mo Fei Yang standing there, his good mood suddenly disappeared. Looking at the bottle filled with fireflies in his hand, her whole heart went cold. Mo Fei Yang and Shi Shiren walked over. Before he could speak, Han Beiluo lowered his voice and said, "Don't disturb my grandpa while he's sleeping. Let's go out and talk." He walked towards the yard first. Mo Fei Yang also followed her. Anyway, he is the winner now, and he is not in a hurry at all. "Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Han Beiluo stopped under the pomegranate tree and asked calmly. She is not a person who doesn't keep her word. She still understands the principle of admitting defeat. Mo Fei Yang approached step by step, forcing Han Beiluo to retreat step by step until his back hit the tree trunk, unable to retreat. What are you going to do? I'm telling you, don't mess around. This is Sisters Hizzy's house. If you dare to do anything to me, Sisters Hizzy will never forgive you if she finds out. Hanbealogo held his chest in desperation to stop him from approaching. Mofi Yang pushed her between his chest and the tree trunk, with a wicked curve on his lips. What do you think I will do to you? Why are you so close to me if you don't want to do anything? Hanbealo blurted out. Looking at his joking eyes, I wanted to swallow those words back. Mofi Yang leaned forward, hot air sprayed on her ears, and his tone was extremely ambiguous. So Xiao Luo wants me to do something to you? Then I will do as you wish. As he spoke, he actually kissed her. Hanbealogo was shocked. He ducked out from under his arms and stood far away from him. His eyes were wary, as if he was afraid that his would show up. In the guest room, although Ganwu was practicing, he was not completely ignorant of the outside world. These two people openly threw dog food in front of him. It was so immoral. Ganu was very angry about this, but what could he do? We can only keep out of sight, turn grief and anger into motivation, and practice hard. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 169. In the yard, Mofi Yang lazily leaned against the tree trunk, playing with a sky-swallowing bottle filled with fireflies in his hand. The fireflies in the bottle sparkle, as if thousands of stars have been put into it, radiant and beautiful. Hanbealogo looked at it and couldn't help being stunned for a moment. Does it look good? Mofi Yang asked. Good-looking, Hanbealogo replied subconsciously. After saying that, seeing his expression of color, I couldn't help but glare at him angrily. Tell me quickly, what are your conditions? I'll go back to sleep when I'm done. Early death and early rebirth. Mofi Yang has been waiting for this moment for a long time. God knows how depressed he was when he was catching fireflies. If it weren't for this bet to support him, he would definitely not be able to survive. Originally I was planning to let you go, but since you said so, it seems a bit unreasonable if I don't make a request. Hanbealogo gave him a roll of his eyes. This is not a bad thing to say to coax a child. She thinks he has been waiting for this moment, right? Mofi Yang felt that he was really crazy. He actually thought that the way she rolled her eyes was so cute, and he wanted to hold her in his arms and rub her hard. Of course, now is not the time. If he really does this, the end that awaits him may not be very beautiful. He tapped his finger on his cheek and looked at her intently. Hanbealogo didn't realize it yet. What are you doing? Mofi Yang couldn't help but hold his forehead. He really overestimated her, but after thinking about it, he felt a secret joy. The girl he liked was like a blank piece of paper, which gave him the opportunity to leave his mark on it. Mofi Yang approached her, leaned over and said, "Kiss me." Hanbealogo's eyes widened in an instant, and he was so unbelievable that he fell into a daze. There was even a moment when I suspected that I was hallucinating. You, how could you make such a shameless request? But isn't he such a shameless person? How could she expect anything from him? Mofi Yang was originally waiting to see her reaction with great interest, but unexpectedly he made her cry. Seeing the tears falling from her eyes that should have been full of smiles, his heart tightened. Don't cry, I won't let you kiss me, okay? Xiaoluoer, it's all my fault, okay? You can hit me and scold me, I'm nothing. He grabbed her hand and waved it to his face again and again, his heart filled with regret. Didn't you agree to take your time? Why are you still so restless? In the end, I still couldn't help but want to get close to her. Mofi Yang sighed deeply in his heart. Seeing that she was still crying endlessly, but there was no sound at all, and she just kept shedding tears. It made her feel even more distressed. Not only did I hear it from somewhere, it is said that people who don't even dare to make a sound when crying are generally suffering a lot because they have no expectations from anyone, so they cry not because they want to be coaxed by anyone, but because they are really. I just couldn't help it. Mo Fei Yang slapped himself, hugged her into his arms, flew up to the pomegranate tree, and released all the fireflies in the bottle. Look, I let all the fireflies run away, now the bottle is empty, I lost the bet. Groups of fireflies are like flowing sparks, interweaving a heart-stirring dreamy scenery around them. Looking at this scene, Han Bailuo stopped crying unconsciously and stared blankly at the fireflies. He even forgot that he was being held in the arms of some shameless guy. But he had just been frightened by her crying, and now Mo Fei Yang did not dare to go too far. He only held her tightly in his arms, not even daring to wipe her tears. However, what he didn't expect was that Han Bailuo actually leaned his head on his shoulder. Happiness came so quickly that Mo Fei Yang froze, and it took him a long time to relax. Exhale slowly. Han Bailuo was only weak for a moment. Before he could enjoy the feeling of a beautiful woman in his arms, he heard her say, "You admitted that you lost just now, right?" Mo Fei Yang nodded blankly. 15 minutes later, Mo Fei Yang, who was hanging upside down on the tree, watched Han Bailuo leave. That's right, Han Bailuo just made a condition: let him hang upside down in a tree for one night. Mo Fei Yang. What can he do? Even if you kneel down, you must honor the words you say. Jianwu in the guest room showed faint pleasure on his face. Seeing Mo Fei Yang like this, his mood became balanced. He just said that if you lick a dog, you will definitely have nothing in the end. Successfully holding hands with your sweetheart? Non-existent. The next day, Shen Yizi and others woke up and saw the heroic figure of Mo Fei Yang being hung upside down. Qingbao asked innocently, "Mother, what is Uncle Mo doing?" "I'm sleeping." "King Bao." Shen Yizi took the opportunity to educate him, "Baby, don't you know, not all people and animals in this world sleep lying down, like horses, they sleep standing up, and fish sleep with their eyes open, and some people like to sleep on the rope. Everyone has different preferences and habits. Maybe you will see people sleeping upside down in the future. We have to learn to respect other people's habits." Qingbao suddenly understood, and then he ignored Mo Fei Yang. Mo Fei Yang. "Miss Shen, won't your conscience hurt if you say this?" Shen Yizi responded with a smile. "If there is anyone in this yard who might be able to help him, it must be Qingbao, who is the best to coax." However, now Qingbao has also been led astray, and Mo Fei Yang has completely fallen into a situation where no one can rescue him, and he continues to be hung upside down pitifully on the tree. It's a good thing that he is a monk, otherwise he would have been hanged like a salted fish long ago. In the end, it was Han Bailuo who freed him. Mo Fei Yang, this scheming boy, took the opportunity to pretend to be weak, so weak that he was on the ground. He thought he was in such a miserable condition, how could he win some sympathy? And this was indeed the case. Han Bailuo had already reached out to help him. At this time, Ganwu next to him said lightly, "For a martial arts practitioner like me, it won't be a big deal even if he is hung upside down for 3 to 5 days, son. As a monk, Mr. Mo is no weaker than me, right? Why can't he stand being hung upside down for one night?" Mo Fei Yang, "I'm going to suffer." Sure enough, Han Bailuo immediately retracted his outstretched hand and gave him a death stare. Mo Fei Yang stood up slowly and smiled flatteringly, "Xiao Luo Er, listen to me." Han Bailuo turned around and left without hesitation. Ganu smiled happily. Mo Fei Yang glanced at him coldly, "Brother Qianwu seems to be very free. Do you want to go out and practice with me?" Ganwu was not afraid at all. In fact, his hands were itchy for a long time. Since I came to Jiazhuang, although I have suffered a lot from testing the medicine for Miss Shen, I have undoubtedly gained a lot of benefits. Not only have all the hidden wounds in my body been healed, but my strength has also improved a lot. I have long been eager to have a good fight with others. Fight with Miss Shen, you will only be tortured, but fight with Kun San, your strength will be completely crushed, and the fight will not be pleasant at all. As for Mo Fei Yang, although he is a monk, he doesn't feel that he is much more powerful than him, so he is a good opponent. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 170. The two of them came to the open space outside the yard, and without saying a word, they just went up to work. After Shen Yazi heard about it, several people came out to watch, and even put out melon seeds and snacks, as if they were watching a monkey show. Today is a day off, and there is no need to go to the hospital to work, so Shen Yazi can spend the whole day as much as he likes. A month is divided into upper, middle, and lower periods, each of which has about 10 days. Shen Yazi came from modern times. How could he endure 365 days a year without any rest throughout the year? So I decided to take a 10-day holiday for myself, 3 days a month. It's not too much. She is the boss anyway, she has the final say. However, if she encounters an extremely urgent situation, she will not leave it alone. Those families in the surrounding villages and towns also know her rules. In the open space, Ganwu did not use weapons, and Mo Fei Yang did not use spells. Instead, they fought with fists and swords. This is a battle between men. There are not so many fancy moves, but it is exciting to watch. Qingbao, a little kid like him, was infected by the explosive hormones from the two of them. He kept jumping and shouting, and for a while he shouted, "Come on, uncle." After a while he shouted again, "Uncle Mo, beat him. Beat him." Shen Yazi, Ersha, whose side are you on? You, the wallflower, are too vacillating. Before the fight, Mo Fei Yang was very confident in himself. Warriors are not as good as monks. This is the understanding of almost all monks. After all, monks introduce qi into the body during cultivation, and the spiritual energy will continuously wash away the body, remove dirt from the body, and make the body stronger. However, after a warrior has worked hard to temper his body for more than 10 years, his physical strength may not be as strong as that of a monk in the early stage of qi refining. Not to mention, monks can also cast spells. Often a fireball thrown by a monk is enough for a warrior to eat a pot. Unless the warrior prevents the monk from getting close and exhausts the spiritual energy in the monk's body, the warrior has basically no chance of winning against the monk. But now Mo Fei Yang couldn't help but have doubts about his identity. When fighting with Ganu, he was the one who backed away. When did warriors become so powerful? However, things that made him doubt his life were still to come. The more Ganwu fought, the more excited he became, and the strength and potential in his body was gradually mobilized. He felt that every inch of his muscles was full of explosive power, and when he punched out, it seemed as if he could shatter mountains and rivers. Of course, this is all his illusion, but it is still no problem to smash a tree with one punch. Mo Fei Yang completely put away his original attitude of belittling the enemy and took it seriously. Although he doesn't want to admit it, he has to admit that he can't beat Ganu in terms of strength, but speed is his strong point. Mo Fei Yang's body swayed and disappeared from the spot. Even the few people watching the battle lost track of him. Ganwu's fighting spirit soared, he was not afraid, he even wanted to look up to the sky and shout to make the battle more fierce. There! Mo Fei Yang's figure was suddenly shouted out by Qingbao. His feet staggered, and he had no time to think about how Qingbao saw through him, because at this time Ganwu had already punched him. Ganwu punched Mo Fei Yang in the chest. Han Baola couldn't help but whisper, but at this moment, his voice came to his ears, "Are you worried about me?" Looking at the original spot again, what was hid was just the afterimage of Mo Fei Yang. She was angry and ashamed, but she was angry at herself. It was undeniable that at that moment, she was really excited because of him. I was ashamed because my thoughts were exposed by the person involved. This man is competing, can't he be more serious? You still have the thought to run over to her and talk to her. Look at how she would laugh at him when he lost. As if he saw what she was thinking, Mo Fei Yang chuckled, "If I win, you will promise me one thing, okay? Let's talk about it after you win." Compared with before, her attitude was obviously much softer. Realizing this, Mo Fei Yang's desire for victory became unprecedentedly high. The attitude has been completely corrected. With this seriousness, Ganwu couldn't help but feel great pressure. However, Mo Fei Yang's speed was so fast that he grabbed his neck before he even had time to react. The vital point fell into his hands. Even if he had all his strength, he couldn't use it now. There was both unwillingness and admiration in Ganwu's eyes. "I lost." But when he looked at Mo Fei Yang, his eyes were full of joy. "It's been a long time since we fought so happily. Let's fight again another day when we have time." Mo Fei Yang retracted his hand and patted his shoulder. "That's easy to say." Qingbao clapped his hands excitedly. "Uncle Mo is so awesome." The little guy's rainbow fart made Mo Fei Yang feel comfortable all over, but he said humbly, "There are people out there, and there are many people in this world who are better than Uncle Mo." Qingbao seamlessly connected, "My dad is definitely better than you." Mo Fei Yang. This little brat is not cute at all. Speaking of which, it has been a few days since I came to Jiazhuang, but I still haven't seen Qingbao's father, and I don't know what the situation is. However, this thought just turned around in my mind and was ignored. After all, he has no interest in exploring other people's family affairs. What he cares most about is what Han Beiluo promised him before. "Xiao Luo do what you said before, Count." Facing Shen Yizi's playful and ambiguous eyes, Han Beiluo's face heated up. Fortunately, his grandfather had gone for a walk, otherwise he would definitely not give this guy a good look if he saw him. Afraid that he would say something shocking in public, Han Beiluo endured his shame and said, "Follow me." She told herself in her heart that she was just fulfilling the bet she made last night. Seeing the two of them go into the woods, Shen Yizi saw that there was no excitement to see, so he took Qingbao back to the yard to prepare breakfast. "I was too busy watching the fight, no, the competition, that I didn't bother to cook." Shen Yizi planned to make shrimp and meat wontons and serve them with steamed dumplings. He would drink a big bowl of hot wontons and eat a bowl of real steamed buns. It would make him sweat. It would be so refreshing. The wonton soup is ready made. There is a pot in the kitchen where the soup is simmered separately. The fire has not been extinguished. From time to time, whole chickens, whole ducks, and large bone sticks are added to it. The meat is stewed until it becomes crispy, and the marrow in the bones is stewed. It comes out and melts in the soup. As soon as you open the lid of the pot, the fragrance can flow 10 miles away and the whole village can smell it. Every time he opened the lid of the pot, Shen Yizi would deliver a bowl of thick soup to the lonely elderly and children in the village, and then add water and ingredients to continue cooking. With each bite, the soup becomes more mellow, delicious, and fragrant. Shen Yizi first cracked a few eggs and stirred them quickly. He counted until about 1,000 times and the egg liquid formed foam before stopping. Then he poured the egg liquid into the flour and kneaded it together. The dough kneaded in this way will be softer and taste better. She is very strong, and it takes no effort at all when kneading the dough. The dough is like plasticine in her hands, and she repeatedly ravages it until it finally takes shape.